In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at whether or not it's worth investing in KDB after his impressive 21-minute cameo against Newcastle. We're also going to take a look at what to do with Erling Haaland and the best City attackers to be buying for Game Week 22 with double Game Week 25 in mind. Before we get into today's video, all I want to say is a massive thank you for the support that you've shown to the channel over the past few weeks. We're super close to hitting 3,000 subscribers, so if you want to help me out, do hit that subscribe button. I thought we'd start off, obviously, with the announcement that there is going to be a double game week for Manchester City and Brentford in Game Week 25. It's also looking quite probable that there will be one for Liverpool versus Luton as well going into that double game week if Liverpool do progress to the next round of the Carabao Cup. Going into the final probably means that they're going to double in Game Week 25. So I thought it would be a good place to kind of start today's video and make you kind of aware of this news, as it did break kind of on Friday evening just before the Game Week 20 deadline. So this is going to be the double game week, and I think it is going to influence quite a lot of transfers going into the next few weeks, because we potentially could have two of the best teams in terms of Premier League assets and just teams in Premier League kind of history in general going up against kind of, well, not each other, but both having very strong double game weeks. So we're probably looking at trying to get at least two or potentially even three of these assets in for each side. So it's just something to kind of keep aware of with your transfer planning for the next few game weeks. Obviously, the other big breaking news before the deadline was the fact that Erling Haaland has suffered a little bit of a setback in terms of Pep Guardiola's words there. He said he's fine, but, you know, he's probably going to miss out on kind of the summer break, well, winter break that they're going through at the moment. Then potentially not going to be back till February is some of the other quotes. So, you know, I did say this in my last video. I didn't think he'd play against this Newcastle game. I thought they would give him as much time as possible to recover from this injury, because it's not just kind of, you know, just a ligament or muscle injury. It is a bone one, so that, you know, does have to be handled in a very different way, and they do have to be extremely precautious with him and his recovery. And with lots of games coming up towards the back end of the season, you're thinking the Champions League, the FA Cup, all these, you know, Premier League potential title challenge as well. You know, they want their top players available, and, you know, we saw it with KDB this weekend, very much kind of dripping him slowly back into the team. They're going to have this nice break as well, Manchester City, so we will have obviously the FA Cup game as well to potentially see if Erling Haaland is going to be available. But with that double game week being announced, strong fixtures leading up to it, I definitely think he is still on a lot of people's radars, you know, potentially looking to bring him back in for Game Week 22. We're going to get to Guardiola press conferences before that time. We're also going to get an FA Cup game as well to see if he potentially plays in that one. So there's still plenty of time, so don't think you have to rush to get him back, or even if you own him, to potentially sell him. There's plenty of time for him to potentially come back. He still potentially, though, could miss not double game week 25. He's going to be there for that one. He's potentially going to miss game week 22, so it might be a case of us actually, you know, potentially delaying Erling Haaland a little bit further. So maybe if you are someone who kind of holding him at the moment, I think I'd still personally recommend holding him for the next few game weeks, even if he's not available, just purely down to the fact of that double game week. He is arguably going to be one of the top candidates for using that triple captain that week, especially if Liverpool don't get their double as well. He, for me, 100% would be the ideal candidate to go for with that double game week chip. But yeah, I thought I'd highlight the issue. It does seem like this injury is taking him a little bit longer to recover from, but hopefully we can get some more positive news. So I think if I had him, I'd hold him. And if I was to looking to bring him in, I'd just wait a couple more weeks, because we're going to get plenty of information about him, Salah, all the other players that have gone off to these other international tournaments as well. Another potential update on KDB and his progression. And we're going to talk about him in the next section. But yeah, we're going to get lots of updates regarding Haaland's fitness, so there's no kind of pressure to bring him in at the moment. So do just be patient, wait, and we will find out ahead of Game Week 22. And the final section for today's video, I thought we would take a look at the best City assets you can potentially go and buy ahead of double game week 25, because these assets are going to be highly desirable come that double game week. And I think there's definitely scope with Manchester City's really good fixtures to potentially get ahead of the curve and go and buy some of these players. So let's go and take a look at some of these that I've identified. Starting off, we're going to go with Kyle Walker. Obviously a very good defensive asset, 5.4 million. million, a little bit expensive, but as you can see, you know, there's some attacking intent there. These are per 90 stats so far this season. KDBs are from last season as well, because it would be unfair to judge him when he's played 2 Premier League games. But yeah, this is Kyle Walker's so far. As you can see, 0 goals, but 0.1 kind of assists per 90, 0.09. Not the greatest in terms when you're paying that premium price, but I think the reason we're going to go for him over the other defenders is the fact that Pep loves to absolutely change that back line, but Kyle Walker kind of seems to be a little bit solid, very kind of formidable, and, you know, just very easy to go for, to be honest, for a lot of us as well. Maybe if Trent misses out, maybe if other players are potentially not available, I think Kyle Walker potentially is going to be on a lot of people's radars. He's personally on mine as well. It seems like he plays a lot of minutes. He is the captain as well. You know, there's not too much to write about in terms of attacking intent, but did pick up an assist over the weekend as well. So, you know, there is some sort of attacking intent there. You know, he can get forward at times, but I think now he's starting to age a little bit more. We all see him just being more the defensive defender, which is fine, but when he's nailed and playing for a team that's going to have a double game week, I think it's a great option to potentially go for. Moving on to the next one, a man coming back from injury is Jeremy Doku, a player who massively passes the eye test for me. As you can see as well, picking up really good data so far this season, averaging kind of 0.57 expected goal involvement per 90, points per game as well, pretty good with 5.89, and at 6.5 million, I know a lot of us having some midfield issues, you know, the likes of potential. We still don't know what's happening with Jared Bowen. A lot of people have gone Pascal Gross this week. And maybe still people are looking at Salah and some replacements as well. Jeremy Doku definitely could be that one. He's a player who's absolutely brilliant, breathtaking to watch, if you like. And at 6.5 million, I definitely think he could be worth a gamble. The only concern, obviously, like with a lot of these players for Manchester City, is the fact that there's Pep Roulette. That's always been a thing. And you think of the quality that City have within that lineup this year. There are so many players vying for different positions. You know, Doku's got Grealish to compete with, but he's not quite been at the same level as he was. Potentially with KDB back, we could see Foden switch out onto that left-hand side at times as well. Alvarez as well, maybe we might see his position potentially go as well. So Doku does have a lot of competition, so I definitely think it is a bit of a gamble, but we've seen so far this season, when he's on form and when he can pick up the ball, drive up oppositions, he is an absolute magnet for assists. Got a wand of a right foot as well. So yeah, really, really good asset. I like him as a pick, and he might sneak his way into my team. A little bit of a differential, but there is, you know, it's high risk, high reward with him. There's going to be lots of competition for those places, but I think at times the way he plays, he is undroppable. Right, moving on to the next player. It is Phil Foden, a very popular pick last game week, and there's very good reason for that. The data that he's picked up so far this season has been pretty steady, nothing to complain about. Now up to 8 million price tag as well, just below 30% owned as well. I do imagine with the double game week being announced, that is only going to increase. But the only concern I do have about Phil Foden is the same issue as Doku. It is the fact that there is going to be some rotation with that City side. KDB back, Haaland back, you know, Alvarez, Doku, Grealish, Bernardo Silva, all these players vying for the same positions. There is going to be times where Foden misses out. And if we're bringing him in, especially just for this double game week, and he doesn't play these games, it could be massively frustrating for you as a potential owner. But I think, for me personally, I've really liked watching Phil Foden over the past few weeks. I think he's been absolutely exceptional. Yes, didn't come away with an attacking return in the Newcastle game and didn't look kind of the sharpest that he's ever done, but I think with the addition of KDB back in that side, it's just going to make Manchester City look so much more good going forward. So I imagine Foden is going to start to tick up more goals, more assists over the next few weeks. Julian Alvarez is the next one. Obviously quite an interesting one. I think a lot of people are going to be going for Erling Haaland if he is fit and available for game week 22, but I think that still might be a little bit questionable. So Alvarez could offer himself up as an option. We've seen earlier in the season when Haaland was fit that Alvarez did play in the 10 role as well, so it's not a question of, you know, Haaland's fit so Alvarez is going to be immediately out. I actually think he prefers playing a little bit better, like further back. I watched the Newcastle game yesterday and he wasn't quite making the right runs at the right times. I think it suits him being that little bit further back, having Haaland in front of him. If he's got KDB at the side of him as well, he could be an absolute goal machine as well. But the only downside with Alvarez, and I think why a lot of people potentially might shift off him in the next few weeks, is the fact that he's lost a lot of his set pieces now. Free kicks, corners, they're starting to disappear as well. The more influence that Kevin De Bruyne gets back in that team as well, you do imagine he's going to, well, immediately in the Newcastle game, he came on, instantly took a free kick straight off Alvarez as well. So we are going to lose that asset, that kind of potential points model going forward for Alvarez. So I think if I had him, I'd probably keep him. If I can get both him and Haaland in the team, I think that's probably what I'm going to do. Maybe look to take Watkins or Solanke out for Haaland. But I think I would just keep Julian Alvarez just for that double game week. Then maybe look to move on after that. Because like I said, I think he suits playing the 10 rather than the 9. Obviously, finally, we're going to talk about the main man. It is Kevin De Bruyne. What a 21-minute cameo that was. A beautiful goal and then a sensational assist. Absolutely quality. I was umming and ahhing on my deadline stream whether or not to potentially bring him in. You know, do I go for it? Do I take the gamble? Do I go for the -4? I really wish I did, but, you know, hindsight's a bitch, isn't it? This, as you can see from this, the data on screen is from last season, and he put up some absolutely unreal numbers. As you can see, the best in terms of expected goal involvement and in terms of assists as well, and points per 90. Already had a price increase, about a 4% ownership increase as well from last night as well. So I would expect, you know, plenty of other FPL managers to be bringing KDB in. I think it's about 300,000. I've already brought him in so far. If you are potentially thinking about it, I do think he's a great player to go for, but I would just be very, very careful about bringing him in. Obviously, you know, they're kind of slowly reintroducing him back to the Manchester City squad. There's FA Cup beforehand, you know, then it's the Premier League game. So some comments as well from Pep and from KDB himself, kind of suggesting that he can't quite play a full 90 at the moment as well, you know, but even still, 21 minutes and he absolutely changed the game for Manchester City. He is that good of a player, but I definitely think with some, you know, fixture congestion, Champions League, FA Cup coming up as well, we could see him potentially come off early or maybe start the games on the bench as well. So that is just something to be very cautious of. I think if I was considering bringing him in, I definitely would wait as well right up until the deadline, because we're going to get that FA Cup fixture in beforehand, so we'll see what he's about there. Then we are also going to obviously find out 2 press conferences, how his fitness is doing, how he is doing as a player as well, whether or not he's going to be available for the full 90 minutes. So I do think he's a great player, but I just think I would hold the caution. Same with every transfer this week. There is a long time period. I think it's something like 22 days till the next FPL deadline, so just make sure you are taking your time with your transfers. You're probably going to miss out on some price rises, but I do think information is more imperative than missing out on kind of a 0.1, 0.2, not potentially even a 0.3 price rise or decrease on a player. That information is more imperative and makes you make better decisions that could help you increase your rank in the long term. If you did enjoy today's video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. Like I said, we're trying to hit 3,000 subs, and if we could do that, it would be massively appreciated by me. But thank you very much and good luck this game week.